In this video we're examining the locations associated with the 1965 Wanda Beach murders, which occurred in Australia, in the state of New South Wales, and in the suburbs of Sydney. Now let's begin. Just zoom in here to a Sydney suburb called West Ryde, which is in northwest of Sydney, and to a street called Brush Road in West Ryde, and number 98 and 96 Brush Road, which is right here. These two homes here, one here and one here. On January the 11th 1965, they were the homes of Marianne Schmidt and Christine Sharrock, who lived side by side. Now, on the morning of January the 11th 1965, Marianne and Christine, along with Marianne's four younger siblings, left their homes on Brush Road, walked along Brush Road down here till they came upon this main road, Victoria Road. Now, their intention was to catch a bus, but as no buses were forthcoming, they decided to walk the extra distance to the West Ryde train station, which is about 1.9 kilometres away. So it's a bit of a walk. And that's the ride here. This is the West Ryde train station. Marianne, Christine and the four children boarded the train here, and they travelled 16 kilometres to the Redfern train station, which is way over here, right near the Sydney Central Business District. This is the Redfern station. Now the girls and the children got off the train here and caught their connecting train, and from the Redfern station then travelled another 23 kilometres to Cronulla station, which is further south down here and right down there. So you can see from Redfern up here all the way to Cronulla, probably about an hour on the train. And they arrived at Cronulla station, which is right here, disembarked. They then walked from Cronulla station through this path here all the way onto well, I think it's South Cronulla Beach, actually, this beach here. Of course, when they arrived at the beach was closed because of the blustery conditions. So the girls actually took the children over to the rock section of South Cronulla Beach, where they were more shielded from the wind. And the girls actually stored their bags here and belongings, and with the four children they began the long walk from South Cronulla Beach all the way over to Wanda Beach, which is about a 3.7 kilometre journey. So from Cronulla Beach here, the girls walked along North Cronulla, Elua Beach, and eventually made it to Wanda Beach, right in here. I think that's the Wanda Surf Club's in this right here. Now, they continued walking on further north. At some point in this area here, Marianne and Christine had the four children wait and shelter between some sand dunes, and the girls themselves continued walking north until eventually the girls made it to the Wanda sand dunes, which are in this area right here. Whole area around here is the Wanda sand dunes, and that is where the girls were murdered and their bodies discovered on January 12th, 1965. I'm standing on Brush Road in West Ryde, Sydney, and I'm standing directly in front of 98 Brush Road, West Ryde, which is right next door is number 96. Now, on January 11th, 1965, these two houses were the homes of Marianne Schmidt and Christine Sharrock. Now, this house here, number 98, certainly is different. It's like an apartment block now. I've seen the old photos of the house and it certainly doesn't look like this, but this is the exact location where the girls lived. Zoom in a bit on number, see, 96, 98, I assume that's 98 and that's still 96, which trying to see if it's similar to what it used to be, but anyway. So here at 98 Brush Road, West Ryde, now beginning with Marianne Schmidt, who lived in this home. Now the Schmidt family immigrated from West Germany to Australia on September the 13th, 1958, first to Melbourne before coming here to Sydney. The parents were Helmut and Elizabeth Schmidt, and they had 7 children. Helmut Jr., Marianne, Hans, Peter, Trixie, Wolfgang and Norbert. Now on March the 10th, 1963, the Schmidt family moved here to 98 Brush Road. Their father, Helmut, however, he died of cancer on June 15th, 1964. Here at 96 Brush Road, West Ryde, lived Christine Sharrock. Now on January 11th, 1965, Christine was actually living here with her grandparents, Jim and Jeanette Tague, as Christine's mother had remarried, so Christine had chosen to live with her grandparents. And of course, her next door neighbour was Marianne Schmidt, and the two became friends as they were both of the same age, 15 years old. Now on that fateful Monday morning, January the 11th, 1965, Elizabeth Schmidt, the mother of Marianne, was in the King George V Hospital in Sydney after having surgery, leaving her 7 children, including Marianne, to look after themselves. It was decided that day that Marianne and Christine would head to Cronulla Beach with an intention to check out the Wanda Beach sand dunes. So Marianne took her 4 younger siblings, Peter age 10, Trixie age 9, Wolfgang age 7 and Norbert age 5 with her, while 16-year-old Helmut and 13-year-old Hans stayed behind. At 8:30 a.m, Marianne and Christine and the 4 children left these homes here on Brush Road and began walking. As I said, their destination was Cronulla Beach, which is 36 kilometres from here. They left their homes and they began to walk along Brush Road to nearby Victoria Road, where their intention is to catch a bus to West Ryde Station. But 58 years ago, Marianne, Christine and the 4 children began walking this way. Now Marianne, Christine and the 4 children leave their home in Brush Road and they walk in this direction here to Victoria Road. That's probably a 75-metre walk. Now they reach
Victoria Road, and their plan is to catch a bus to West Ryde Station, which is, it's a fair walk in that direction, about 1.9 kilometres. They waited a bus stop, but no bus comes, so they decide to hell with that, we'll walk there to West Ryde Station. So they do. When they left early in the morning, around 8:30 a.m, it was a warm and sunny morning. Of course, time they got to Cronulla Beach, conditions had deteriorated, but Marianne, Christine and the children walked along here on Victoria Road all the way to West Ryde train station. Cronulla Station at 11 a.m. on January the 11th, 1965. Christine and Marianne and the 4 children arrived here at this station to walk to the short distance to Cronulla Beach. After they exited Cronulla Station, they then crossed Cronulla Street and then began walking in this direction. We'll follow the path of the girls, walking through Beach Park Avenue. This is the path the girls took to Cronulla Beach. Repeating, we're on Beach Park Avenue, next to Monroe Park to the right. Some construction work here to the left, so this may have been a wider road at the time. It's almost been turned into a laneway. But we're heading out to Cronulla Beach on the path the girls took that fateful morning. Now this is across here. Continue walking. I can see Cronulla Beach up here. Hot day in Sydney today, 40 degrees. It feels a bit cooler down here at the beach. I can feel the nice breeze blowing in. But the beach should be pretty well packed. Now we're coming up to Gerald Street, which they crossed into. Beach not far away at all. Now we're into Cronulla Park, which fronts the beach.
We're going to see this guy.
So this is Cronulla Park. And that leads out obviously to Cronulla Beach. Now when the girls arrived here on January the 11th, 1965, it was around 29 degrees. But the weather had turned nasty. Very windy and blustery. And when they got out to Cronulla Beach here, lo and behold, the beach was closed because of the choppy seas. So as we can see at the moment, the beach is packed. But in 1965, Cronulla Beach was closed. So this is Cronulla Beach. So with Cronulla Beach closed, the girls decided to head south into what is some rock region, which is to the south of the beach. So we're going to walk over there now and have a bit of inspection of the rock area. Okay, I'm standing on the rock area south of Cronulla Beach. So the girls came in to Cronulla Beach, which is over there, found the beach closed and walked over towards these rock areas. Exactly where, I don't know, but somewhere in this vicinity they sat. As you see, the rocks lead all the way around to there. I doubt they went too far. At some point little Wolfgang wanted to go into the water despite it being closed, and Marianne took him into the shallow. So this doesn't look like the shallows here. I guess a bit further along was where they were sitting. They had some lunch, and then it was Marianne who suggested that the group walk to the sandhills beyond Wanda Beach. Now that is quite a distance. That's Cronulla. Now Wanda Beach is all the way somewhere down there. I'm not even sure myself because I haven't been here yet, but I'm about to go walking. But Wanda Beach is somewhere in that vicinity. So yeah, that was Marianne's suggestion. They all do that, and that's what they did. They actually stashed their bags into the rocks around here, so they didn't have to haul them all the way down north. And then they began to walk along the promenade, first to North Cronulla, and then up to Wanda Beach, New South Wales. This is where Marianne and the girls came to. The long walk from Cronulla Beach. Now comes the hard part, finding the location where the girls were murdered. But start here, of course, at Wanda Beach. Now, the beach is pretty crowded today on such a hot day. So, okay. That's the Wanda Lifesaving Club. Now the girls and the 4 kids arrived here. As I said, it was such a windy, blustery day. The children were complaining that the sand was whipping their legs, and they weren't very comfortable at all. So the girls and the young children walked 182 meters past the Wanda Surf Lifesaving Club. Well, that's the club here, where they found shelter behind a sandhill. So 182 meters in that direction. That's north, and beyond that are the sand dunes where the girls were murdered. So I'll try and find about 200 meters north of this spot. Okay, so I've walked maybe 200 meters or a bit more north of the Wanda Beach surf house, and somewhere in these dunes is where Marianne, Christine and the 4 children took shelter. It was about 182 meter walk, I believe, and they all huddled in like a little, I don't know what you call it, a gully or in between the dunes, something like this. Obviously this area's been worked on over the years. I'm standing on like a little lookout at the moment, so positive this wasn't here many years ago, but it would have been something like this where the girls and the children took shelter. Now at this point the young children were complaining about the weather. They'd had enough. So Marianne and Christine said they were going to walk back to Cronulla Beach to retrieve their belongings, which I reiterate is a long way. Let's see if I can see. I think I can see it from here actually. I must say I'm pretty buggered from all this long walking. It's down there somewhere, Cronulla Beach. It's a fair walk, but that's what they said they were going to do, which is south. But much to the bemusement of the children, instead of going south back to Cronulla, the girls started walking north, away from the destination they said they were going to, and in this direction, here on the sand dunes at Wanda Beach. Peter Schmidt calls out to the girls that they're going the wrong way over the blustery wind, but the girls just laughed it off. So, or they didn't hear him. I'm sure they knew which way they were going though, obviously. It's not that hard to determine. So the girls walked off in this direction, north, and that was the last time the two girls were seen by the children ever again. So the question begs now, where are these infamous sand dunes? I can see some dunes on a hill up here, a bit further away. So that's going to be our next destination. Try and find the general location where Marianne and Christine were murdered. Pretty sure I'm on the right track now. The Wanda Heritage Dunes. Just beyond this path, where Christine and Marianne were murdered. Into the dunes we go. I'm at the Wanda Sand Dunes near Wanda Beach, and somewhere in these sand dunes was Marianne Schmidt and Christine Sharrock murdered on January the 11th, 1965. The exact location I do not know. Now I'm about 2 kilometers from the Wanda Surf Club. Where exactly, it's a long way for the girls to have come. I'm sure this area has been renovated, I guess, remodeled, maybe tamed. I'm standing on a lookout at the moment, and I would bet that this wasn't here in 1965, but this is the general location of the Wanda Sand Dunes. Now, of course, the girls went missing on January the 11th, and the four children stayed at Cronulla Beach until around 5 p.m. when the girls had not returned. The children themselves caught the train back home without Christine and Marianne. It wasn't until the following day, Tuesday, January 12th, 1965, that the girls were found. Now, Monday had been an ordinary blustery day, but the following day, Tuesday, was a beautiful sunny day, and the girls were discovered here in the sands by a 17-year-old named Peter Smith, who was with his 3 nephews, aged between 5 and 8, who wanted to explore the sand dunes. Now, the girls had not been buried when they had been viciously murdered, but laying out in the elements for about 24 hours, the wind and had covered them over with sand, giving the appearance that they were buried. And Peter Smith saw one of the girls submerged in the sand, unaware there was a second victim. And on seeing this, he and his nephews fled back to the Wanda Surf Club, where a lifeguard was on duty, and he reported it to the police and led them back to this area where Marianne and Christine were found. Both the girls had suffered a terrible attack. It appears Marianne had been set upon first. Marianne Schmidt had 15 stab wounds, including to her left breast, into her heart. Her throat had been cut, and it appears she was the victim of a sexual attack, as semen was found on her. Now, Christine had apparently tried to flee, but the killer had chased after her, caught up with her, struck her from behind with a blunt object, then stabbed her in the back. And it looks like he dragged her back some 34 meters to where Marianne was. It appears that the killer attempted to rape Christine too, but was unsuccessful. Her pants had been taken down and her sanitary belt had been taken out and then all shoved back into her crotch. But I really really vicious, hideous murder right here on the Wanda sand dunes. And when the girls were found, they were virtually lying head to head. Now I just want to go for a bit of a walk in these sand dunes. It's a bit precarious, but this area appears pretty solid. While I do, I want to talk about some of the eyewitness accounts on that Monday afternoon. Excuse me. That was the lookout I just recorded from. I'm going to be careful walking around here. I might just walk over to this ledge here, or maybe up here where it's a bit more solid. Now one of the, must be over the flight path here, I got a plane to catch back to Adelaide later tonight, so might actually fly back over here. So the sand dunes continue along here. One of the main witnesses was a man named Dennis Dostum, who was 32 years old, walking with his 6-year-old son. He said he saw a youth. He was probably walking along near the beach. A lot of these witnesses were, not so much in the dunes. He saw a youth around 19, described as tall, pale, light hair, wearing shorts and a shirt. And he saw 2 girls walking fast in a northerly direction, which is to this area. And he said the girls were looking back over their shoulder. Again, that doesn't necessarily mean has anything to do with that. The young man he saw, they could have been looking back for the 4 children they'd left behind, who were yelling out, "You've gone the wrong way." There were various other witnesses who all saw varying degrees of people. Some may be relevant, some may not be. One of the most interesting for me was a man named Frank Williams, a 57-year-old man, who at around midday that day saw a man lying in sand dunes 45 metres north from the surf club, which would be much further back that way. And he said the man had an iron mask around his head and face, a la Ned Kelly. It's a bit of corrugated iron to protect him from the wind, I guess, but he became known as the man in the iron mask, though I don't believe he's ever been identified. Now, one of the most pertinent witnesses was 7-year-old Wolfgang Schmidt, Marianne's younger brother, who was among the group of 4 here on that day. Now, his initial claims was the key witness was a blonde-haired surfy boy. Lots of little nooks and crannies in these sand dunes. Now, getting back to Wolfgang Schmidt, when the girls hadn't returned after a spell, he went looking for them. Now, he said he saw a teenage boy with the girls. He said he described the boy as being fat, light coloured hair, sun cream on the nose, and shirtless, a la the surfy. Now, Wolfgang later said also that he saw the boy later on by himself. He asked him, "Where are the girls?" referring to Marianne and Christine, and the boy ignored him. On February the 10th, 1965, about a month after the murders, Wolfgang now mentions that he saw that boy while they were back at Cronulla Beach, way in that direction, while they were eating lunch on the rocks. He saw the boy catching crabs with a knife in the water and then speaking to the girls. He said he saw that same boy here in the sandhills and that the knife was missing. Now, there are lots of various accounts and eyewitness testimony. Girls riding on horses saw a naked man appear out of the dunes, all kinds of unusual activity. But whoever it was that murdered Christine and Marianne has never been caught, at least not for these horrible murders. There have been various suspects over the years. One of the most prominent is Christopher Wilder, who later turned into an American serial killer. He was an Australian-born man. He would have been in his late teens on January 11, 1965. There's a long history of sexual assaults dating back to, I think, to 1963, 62, which included all the way up until the mid-80s, before finally in early 1984 he went on a killing spree in the US, murdering, I think, 8 women, attacking several more before he was shot dead in a struggle with police near the Canadian border in April 1984. But Wilder certainly has to be a prime suspect still, but obviously he's long dead. So, and these murders happened, what's that, 58 years ago. So of all the happenings surrounding the murders, I think probably I don't know how to put this, the eeriest occurred 4 days after the murders and 3 days after Christine and Marianne were found. A homemade cross was discovered on the hills. It was made out of wood, I believe, but it was wrapped in seaweed, which gave it the most unusual, almost haunting touch to it. Now, probably just put up by someone with a good heart, but just that image of that cross with the seaweed up on a hill near where the murders occurred, just, it's an image that really is quite potent. So that's where, somewhere in these sand dunes, Christine Sharrock and Marianne Schmidt were murdered. One of Australia's most infamous, and to this date, 2023, still unsolved murders. Rest in peace, Marianne and Christine, here in the Wanda Sand Dunes. I'm at Rookwood Cemetery in Lidcombe, Sydney, the final resting place of Marianne Schmidt. It's inside, I believe, is a Lutheran chapel. There's 2 walls. Marianne's is on left of camera, down near the bottom. Ooh. See if I can zoom in here. There we are, Marianne Schmidt, born October 30th, 1948, died January 11th, 1965, asleep in Jesus. Marianne Schmidt. And I also discovered, straight above Marianne is Helmut Schmidt, died 1964, I think that's all saying. I'm positive that's Marianne's father, who died a year before. And down the bottom we have Elizabeth Schmidt, Marianne's mother, who died in September 2009, aged 88. And just over here is Wolfgang Schmidt, Marianne's younger brother, who died in March 2013, he would have only been 56. Wolfgang, of course, was there at Wanda Beach that fateful day, and he was 7 years old. Or correction, 8 years old. Yeah, 7 years. Born in March, so that's the final resting place of Marianne Schmidt. Rest in peace, Marianne. I'm here at Liverpool Cemetery, Sydney, New South Wales, visiting the gravesite of Christine Sharrock. First weekend, shadows are causing a bit of problems. It says Christine. Then we go up to a headstone in loving memory of Christine Mary Sharrock, age 15 years, died January 11, 1965. Sorry, I just can't quite read that with the flower. God has her in his keeping. We have her in our hearts. R.I.P. And back here we have another plaque, headstone, for Beryl Jean Ma. I guess was Christine's mother. Born July 1st, 1926, died March 26, 2019. Beloved wife of Raymond, loving mother of Graham, Christine and Mary, cherished grandmother and great nan, resting with her beloved daughter. Rest in peace. Yes, that's Christine's mother. Wow. So this is Christine's cemetery, a grave here at Liverpool Cemetery. Rest in peace, Christine. Good afternoon, everybody. Just a bit of self-indulgence here at the end of this video. I want to talk about something that occurred while I was making the video. Now, the footage I shot from the moment I arrived at the Cronulla station until the point I reached the sign that said Wanda Heritage Dunes, I shot that on a 40-degree day in Sydney, and I walked all the way from South Cronulla Beach to the Wanda Beach area, and I was overwhelmed by heat exhaustion. As I was walking along the path from the point where the sign said Wanda Heritage Sand Dunes towards the actual sand dunes, I reached a point where I couldn't go any further, and the heat just consumed me. And I actually tried to walk down to the beach to cool off. Got about halfway down a path and I started to feel very, very strange, and was actually fearful that I was about to drop dead. So I sat down and lay down on the path and called an ambulance. Obviously everything turned out okay. It was the heat, but the ambulance came out to find me. I had to pinpoint the location because I was not quite in the middle of nowhere, but there was no address or anything I could tell them, so we had to work out where I was. But everything worked out fine. The ambulance came out. One young man, a paramedic, who I want to give a big shout out. His name was Ryan. And afterwards, when he checked me out and made sure everything was fine, walked back with him to his vehicle, and he actually drove me to South Cronulla Beach. I just needed to be cool. I needed to get out of the sun and drink some water. That's all that was required. There was no other effects, but he really did save me. And I want to make a shout out to him, young fella Ryan. Actually mentioned what I was doing out there, making
a video for YouTube on the Wanda Beach murders, and he looked me up. So Ryan, if you're watching this, thank you, mate. I'll always appreciate the help you offered me at what could have been a difficult time. The rest of the footage I filmed on the actual dunes, I came back about 6 days later on my last day in Sydney and filmed it on a much cooler day, and was much smarter this time. So big shout out to Ryan, and thank you very much. I just wanted to have that shout out. So that's all from me. Thank you.